Here we go. There we go. Right then, so my name is Judith Vaughan. I'm Programme Director and Head of Department of Law, Politics and Criminology. So just very briefly about me, in a former life, I was a barrister and I practised. Later on, I became a magistrate's court clerk or a legal advisor, as they're known now. So they're the person who sits in front of the magistrate, because the magistrates are lay people, so they need somebody qualified in order to give them advice on the law and sentencing and procedure. So I did that for a little while, but my heart was always in academia. That was always my career goal, was to become an academic, because I was taught by some of the most amazing teachers who actually gave me such opportunities that I'm the person I am because of them. And so that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to become an academic, a law teacher. So in 1999, I had my first full-time job at London Met, and I worked there quite happily for about 13 years before I came here to St Mary's. And I loved London Metropolitan University, but if you have been looking at universities, and you'll be aware that London Met is really in the centre of the City of London. It's all concrete. Whereas if you can see on that screen that I'm sharing with you, St Mary's is a million times different. It's a very green, leafy, beautiful campus. And it's very small. London Metropolitan University was very large, and that has its advantages, because as a student, obviously you can become lost, you can become just a number. And I'm not suggesting that's what students were at London Met, but it certainly was very large. Whereas at St Mary's, of course, we're very small. There are only 5,000 students in total. And our biggest cohort in law has been 82 students. So it's very, very small compared to other universities that you've been looking at. And this will or it will not suit you, because obviously we know all of our students by name, we know them individually, we have a proper teacher-student relationship. We know how you're doing, we know what your grades are like, we know if we need to push you or whether you're doing very well. So it is a very, very certain institution. I absolutely love it. I'm very, very happy working at St Mary's. I don't just teach, but when I do teach, you will find that I teach the nasties of the law degree. I teach land and equity and trust. I think they're fantastic, but students often don't feel the same way. I don't understand why not. And of course, those subjects are the most important things, because we are affected every minute of the day by land law. Wherever you are sitting now watching this presentation, you are going to be affected by the law relating to land and property. And of course, everybody dies. And so, in fact, everybody needs to know about equity and trust, because a lot of that is about how you manage your estate, so your property on your death. So two really, really important subjects. But I don't just teach, I also research. I probably am the foremost expert on first women lawyers. So in case you didn't know, up until 1919, women couldn't become lawyers. You were prohibited from becoming a lawyer. So we had a huge centenary last year. But my research, I've published quite widely on first women lawyers. At the moment, I'm really concentrating on race, because that's something that affects so many of my students. I feel so strongly about it. We had a conference in 2018. I organised a conference on race. And so we were quite a bit before Black Lives Matter. So I'm about to publish a book on that, and also a book on first women solicitors, so a little bit busy. So I'm not just a law teacher, I'm also a researcher. But if you come to St Mary's, I will be your head of department. So you'll be taught by me for some subjects, and obviously if things go wrong, then I'll be your first port of call. So very warm welcome to this evening. Now it won't let me just see, will it let me, oh, marvellous. Right, so it's not just me in law at St Mary's, there are 8 other lecturers. So again, we're a very, very small team. Many of the team have been either barristers or solicitors. They have significant experience of research, which is really useful because I think how we teach law is very practical. So we're teaching it when we're really looking back at our past lives as practitioners, which gives you an insight into the law if that's the path that you want to go down. But also there's a very strong emphasis on research. There are many of the team who are researchers, so some one member of staff really looks at jurisprudence, so the philosophy of law. One member of staff looks at medical law, and two members of staff are researchers on arbitration, so very commercially based. So quite a wide variety of subjects that are researched, and so obviously then quite a wide variety of expertise amongst the team. So just some photos for you. This year was a trip of some of our students who went to the Employment Tribunal. This is the Law Forum that we run every year. So the man in the middle is Lloyd Gash, who is a former solicitor. And if you look at the picture on the left, you will see that is the Waldegrave Drawing Room, which is a very beautiful room at St Mary's. And he runs the event. So it's an evening where he gets in practitioners and they come and they speak to students. And so it's a networking event as well as learning about other careers in law. This was a criminal law moot. You can see that the students are all dressed up. This is university equipment, so you would be perfectly able to use that as well. You can see we have a mock trial. This is one of my now ex-students, Ellie, who really was quite the most amazing student. And she now is doing her traineeship with a firm of solicitors. And this is Judge Peter Lodder, who is the senior judge at Kingston Crown Court, who is a visiting professor of St Mary's, and he comes in and he teaches our students, and he judges events. So he's an excellent link for us, and he also allows students to come in and to shadow him. And you can see that it's not just criminal law that we deal with this. We had a contract moot that was judged by Evelyn, who is a principal solicitor, and she has a wealth of experience that she shares with our students. So again, another amazing link that we have. You can see the bar is in the middle here, but this is Rena Guy, who every year comes in and speaks to our students about domestic violence. And we have other links to other firms who also come in, but Rena, again, is a real friend of St Mary's. Ooh, whoops, sorry. Right. So how do we teach and how do you learn at St Mary's? Because I'm getting a lot of inquiries from potential students asking me about whether the degree is all exam-based, and it isn't at all. We obviously have some exams. We couldn't not examine you because then that would set you up to fail when you take other professional examinations. You need to be able to sit exams. But again, we support and we scaffold you through that. But we also have other methods of assessment. So we have coursework. Usually if there's an exam, it will be worth 50%, and then there will be a piece of coursework that's also worth 50%. But we also do things such as presentations, vivas, group presentations, individual presentations, negotiations. So all methods of assessment, so that it isn't just exam based, but obviously you have to have some exams. And as from next semester, we won't be having any exams in the Christmas, after Christmas, because if COVID has taught us one thing, it's really not a good idea to put people in the exam hall in the winter, because obviously their bugs are rife and then you just spread it to one another. We record all of our lectures. Some lecturers prefer to do this by a digital voice recorder. I prefer to do it via Zoom and put it up onto our virtual learning platform, which is called Moodle. but it is recorded so that students can attend and engage, but then they can listen to the material later at their leisure as well. In your first year, we will put you into these things called action learning sets. And this is just a way of really getting to meet your fellow students. It's been particularly important this semester that's just passed, because obviously students have had a lot of online teaching as well as face-to-face teaching. Some students haven't wanted to come in, so it's been very useful having these action learning sets, because they're put into groups and then they can actually meet and learn with their fellow students. We have the virtual learning environment. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this kind of thing. I'm sure you have it at your schools or colleges. So it's called Moodle, and each of your modules will have a Moodle site. So all your lectures will be posted on there, all of your PowerPoints. You will submit any coursework onto Moodle. And also we have a Moodle site called Law All Pathways, where in fact I'm able to contact you. So for example, it is full of careers information, really every single career pathway that you can possibly think of. Any of our external events that we have, any of our extracurricular events, I will record and I've put them up on there as well. But really everything is on that Law All Pathways site. So everything you need to know, all of the induction PowerPoints, for example, on there. There's a booklet on studying law. Everything is on there that you need to know. We also try and operate an open door policy at St Mary's, so that in fact, if you need to see a tutor, then you can just contact them or knock on their door and they should be there able to speak to you. But obviously we teach and we research, so if we're not in our office, then you can book a tutorial, and that's a 10-minute slot, and you can have one of these for any of your subjects. You can have those weekly in addition to your seminars and your lectures. We have a beautiful law library, which is on the second floor on campus, on our campus library, which is dedicated to law. And we did have a law librarian, but unfortunately she left in March, and we're still trying to replace her, because it's got to be somebody who is really good, really, really good. Employability is absolutely essential to us. It's no good us just teaching you and not preparing you for the workplace. So we do have many modules that try and prepare you for the workplace. So sources of law and legal process in level 4, practical legal skills in your second year, level 5, and work-based learning for law in the third year. But in fact, really all of our extracurricular events are all about trying to get you into the workplace, trying to get you into the career that you have chosen. So we have Lloyd, who I showed you in one of those photos. He runs a weekly commercial awareness and current affairs workshop. We have external speakers, and also we have one of our students was part of the Aspiring Solicitors body that's a sort of a commercial awareness competition, and now he is running it, so we have very close links with that particular organisation. So that's really good for anybody who's aspiring to be a solicitor, especially if you're somebody who, like me, I had absolutely no background in my family at law. In fact, I'm first generation, really the first generation of my family to go to university. Nobody else had been. And in fact, I went to a polytechnic. It's now the University of Westminster. But that's because really the school I went to didn't send people to university. It was completely unexpected. So if you're somebody like me who doesn't have any family members who are lawyers, or perhaps you are new to university, then that's exactly the kind of group that you should join. And we have very, very strong links with them. So if you want to study law with us, you can come on to one of 3 programs. You can come on to the straight LLB Honours Law degree path. So that's just pure law. Or you can do an LLB Law with Criminology program. So you do law, but you also have some criminology modules, but it does give you an LLB. or you can come onto our BA Honours Business Law degree. And that one's a very interesting degree pathway because it has a much lower entry tariff. And what we find is because at St Mary's, we really believe in nurturing our students. We understand that not everybody has had an equal pathway to higher education. So we do our absolute best to try and encourage you and develop your skills. All of the lecturers at St Mary's are completely passionate about that. And please don't think this is sales speak, because it isn't. All of the lecturers who work at St Mary's really, really believe in the equality of education. And so that's what we're there to do, is to get you on the path to your career aspiration. So let's say that you don't get the grades that you want for your A-levels, and it's going to be a difficult year this year, isn't it? Because we don't actually know how you're going to be assessed yet. Let's say you don't get the grades that you're hoping for, then you can come in on the business law degree, where you do a little bit of law and a little bit of business studies. And if you do well, so i.e. you engage with us, you study hard, you're passing all of your assessments, then you can in your second year transfer from business law onto the LLB. And so you can then just purely do law. So that's perfectly possible. And of course, we also run a foundation year. So perhaps you're a student who doesn't have any A-levels, you can come into the foundation year, and then we would hope very much that you would stay with us and start your degree after that. So it's a one-year course. And we have a lot of students who we nurture and look after in the foundation year, and then they stay with us and do the LLB degree. So I'm sure you want to know what you will be studying, and I'm going to show you what our current students are studying, but I just caution you that this might not be exactly what you will study with us, because law at St Mary's is undergoing its revalidation. Every single degree in the country has to be revalidated every 5 years. It's just a cycle that happens. It's nothing that's peculiar to St Mary's, it's just what has to happen, because we have to make sure that our degree pathway is fit for purpose. And perhaps we have discovered that some things don't work so well and we want to change them going forward. And so that an external panel comes in and they will sort of judge whether our degree pathway is fit for purpose, which I know it will be, because we're very professional. So just remember that some of what I'm about to show you may change, not dramatically, but it may change. So just approach this with a little bit of caution. So what will you be studying in your first year? So if you are an LLB student at the moment in semester 1, and that runs from October to the end of December, you will be studying 3 things. You will be studying sources of law and academic legal skills. So this is introducing you to the sources of law, so Parliament to case law, and also will be equipping you with skills that you need in order to go on and get a really good degree. You'll also study criminal law and public law, which of course is so important. We saw that with, if you follow law, you will be aware that Brexit ended up in the Supreme Court, didn't it? And so that's all part of public law, Parliament, for example, really, really important. In your second semester, you will study legal process and the introduction to the practice of law. So this is where we're looking at the legal profession, but you'll also study contract law and human rights law. If you study business law, then you will study with law, you'll study sources of law and then 2 business law subjects. And in your second semester, you'll study legal process and the law of contract. If you're doing law with criminology, then you will do sources of law and criminal law with us, and then you'll do investigating criminal justice with criminology. And in your second semester, you'll do legal process, law of contract and human rights with us. So 3 law subjects. In your second year, Obviously, you'll study other subjects. So in the first semester, remembering that this runs from October to the end of December. So if you're studying LLB law, you have to study the law of tort and the law of European Union. Now, these are core modules that you have to pass in if you wanted to become a barrister, for example. And then you would pick one option, either company law, sportsman law, criminal justice, or feminist perspectives. In the second semester, you would do practical legal skills, land law, excellent, the best subject, and then you would choose one optional module, family law, jurisprudence, consumer commercial, and intellectual property law. And if you're doing law and criminology, then you would be doing public law, tort law, EU law, and then the second semester, criminalising social problems, crime in the media, and land law. And if you're studying business law, then with us, you can study company law, and then either law of EU, law of tort, or sportsman law. And in the second semester, consumer commercial law, and then two options, practical legal skills, experience in employment, or jurisprudence. And then in your final year with us, you have to study equity and trust. Again, that's one of the core modules that you would need if you wanted to go to the bar. But also to get a St. Mary's law degree, you have to have produced a piece of independent research. So you would either do the law research project, which is an essay worth 10,000, which is 10,000 words long, or an extended essay in law, which is 5,000 words long. And I always advise students to do the extended essay because 10,000 words is quite a lot to do. And then the rest of your modules are optional modules. If you're law and criminology, then again, in that final year, you have to do equity and trust and a piece of independent research, and also criminology and new perspectives. And then you can choose an optional module. Business law, you have to do employment law and a piece of independent research, and then the rest will be optional modules. So hopefully what you're understanding is that at St. Mary's, there are two semesters, semester 1 and semester 2. Semester 1 goes from October to late December. Semester 2 goes from late January until really late April. And so each semester you have to do 3 modules. So it's 6 modules overall. Each module has 1 2-hour lecture and one 1-hour seminar. So you're getting 9 hours of teaching a week. And then you have all these extracurricular activities that we run as well, which we would hope that you would attend. Now, you may be aware that if you want to be a solicitor, you no longer have to do a law degree. This is something that's going to come in 2021. So you don't have to do a law degree anymore. So you could do the business law degree and still become a solicitor, because there are these huge changes that are happening to how solicitors qualify. So now, in order to become a solicitor, you either need to have a degree or an appropriate amount of work experience, and then you need to sit 2 exams. The Solicitors Qualifying Exam 1 and the SQE 2. But of course, if you want to be a barrister, you still need an LLB law degree, or you'll have to do another degree. So if you did the business law degree, you'd need to go off and do a GDL somewhere else in order to qualify as a barrister. So if you want to go to the bar, you still need a law degree. You still need that LLB. So entry requirements then. If you want to do the LLB, you must have 112 points. Now, if you drop below that, by all means, send me an email and we can have a chat and really see what has happened. And as I say, this year is going to be a difficult year, isn't it? Because we don't know how you're being assessed. And so everything is a bit up in the air. So I would be very willing to have a chat with you to to see where you are. If you want to do business law, it's a significantly lower entry tariff. So you need 104 points. But again, if you drop below that, please drop me an email and let's have a chat, okay? Because this year I absolutely appreciate, I have a son who's doing his A-levels, so I really understand this is a really difficult time for you, really quite awful. So just have a chat with me, yeah? So I always show this, a little tricky with the fact that we're in lockdown, but really when we're out of lockdown, please visit your local court if you want to study and prepare for studying law. Visit the UK Supreme Court, try and go to the Royal Courts of Justice or an employment tribunal, try and have a look around Parliament. I'm sure all of these are doing some kind of online events at the moment. So please take a look, go online and see what they're offering. But you do need to get an idea of the legal profession and how it works. But also read everything and anything. So just read fact books, read a fiction. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be highbrow. Just read, because reading informs your writing. If you read, then your writing is going to be much, much better. Listen to legal podcasts. All you have to do is really put into Google law talks, and all kinds of things will come up. I put a couple of things at the end I'll share with you. But just listen to everything that you possibly can. For example, Law in Action on Radio 4, have a listen to that, yeah? Read the news daily, it's absolutely essential. I do appreciate at the moment it is pretty awful. So try and avoid the COVID stories because they are really distressing. Listen to Radio 4, just culturally, that's the radio station that lawyers listen to. So again, you just need to immerse yourself in that life. Join LinkedIn, okay? It's a social media platform. It's all about making networks, and becoming a lawyer is all about networks and connections. Send me an invite. I'd be quite happy to link up with you. But just start thinking about your online presence. You know, you need to start behaving professionally. If you want to become a lawyer, you need to start now, okay? Oh, you can see that beautiful house at the back there. That's part of St. Mary's, although we don't teach in that anymore. We do own it, but we have rented it to a charity so people can visit it. But it's absolutely beautiful. You may have seen it in many documentaries, but the Wardegrave Road, the Wardegrave Drawing Room is part of that building. So I hope you will apply to us, and I hope you will choose us as your university, because we want good students, the kind of students who attend these sort of events. We want engaged students. If you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking tonight, email me. That's my email address there. Okay, so drop me a line. I'm more than happy to reply to you. I'll always ring you up. And I think, you know, if you're looking for books to read, have a read of The Secret Barrister. Okay, if you're new to law, if you're quite experienced, then it won't be your thing. But if you're new to law, have a read of that. Have a read of Charles Dickens' Bleak House, because it's really important. It actually makes you understand how we've ended up with these two separate sources of law, the common law and equity. So have a read of that. If you find it is a big book, I'll give you that. Listen to it. I'm sure you can download some kind of audio book of it. Have a read of any Caro Fraser novel, any John Grisham. They're quite exciting. I mean, obviously it's American, but it's still legal. There's some other books there. Have a look at those links that I put there. Inner Temple, that I'm doing a project with the Inner Temple at the moment on race, on BAME barristers. So please have a look at that, because it's really interesting. Have a look at that Gresham website, especially Leslie Thomas. You may have heard of him to do with Grenfell. Okay, he's a lawyer, but he's a professor at Gresham College, and he has lots and lots of recorded lectures that you can listen to. So please have a listen to him, because he's really, really good. And have a look at the exhibition I did with Inner Temple on women in law, because if you're interested in equality, have a look at those lives of those first women lawyers. So please take a look at those.